I love Greenwich Point, and I love the architecture down here, the buildings there. How could you not love these buildings? Innis Arden Cottage, the Chimes building, these are some of the most charming, most beautiful buildings on the eastern seaboard, and they're right here at Greenwich Point, and they're falling down. You know, it's, how could you not advocate for this? There's so much to love about this building. I love the simplicity of it, the way it relates to the site. It's about the location, it's about the design, it's about the materials that were used, it's about the scale of the building. They really knew how to design back then. We have this incredible place. People love to come here for so many different reasons, but we've got these wonderful old buildings that are decaying, and they won't be around forever if we don't take care of them now. I think that the Greenwich Point Conservancy is starting with Innis Arden Cottage because it really needs, it's most in need of help. It really hasn't been well used, it hasn't been well maintained. It's got a leaky roof, it's got broken windows, it's got broken plumbing, and the building really is at risk of loss.
I think the public thinks somehow that they're being looked after, and in fact they're not. The raccoons are looking after them, and you know, people who care about these buildings want to see them preserved, and I think we as a town all want to see these buildings preserved, and so it's time to step forward and take these buildings out of their orphanage and bring them forward, and we all need to donate.
The town budget doesn't have in it any means of maintenance for buildings, beautiful old buildings like this. When the building was falling down, and I asked the selectmen at the time, what is the plan for the protection, restoration, or even repair of this building? What's in the budget line? He said nothing, like $6,000 for the bulldozer when the roof finally falls in. And that roof, it's close enough to be finally falling in. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
You know, this cottage has been standing for over 100 years. Imagine the stories that it could tell, the people that it visited, the storms that it's seen. It's quite extraordinary. It's been called the Queen Anne Building forever, and so a lot of people will always think of it as the Queen Anne Building, but its correct name, it was named by the Todds Innis Arden Cottage, and it was a guest house on their estate, and the mansion now was called Innis Arden House, and the whole estate was known as Innis Arden.
The Todds bought their first piece of land here, and it was this portion of Greenwich Point in 1884. They had been married for 2 years, lived in New York in Greenwich Village, and apparently wanted to have a summer house. So they bought this land, 40 acres, and by 1886 they had started to build a house here. Todd built many buildings after he built his house and boathouse in 1886. One of the most beautiful is what you see as you enter the point. It is called Innis Arden Cottage. Todd and his wife almost certainly built it as a guest house, but among their first guests were nurses from the Presbyterian Hospital.
Mr. Todd invited the nurses out in 1901 for the first time. This building was built in 1903 as a guest house. We don't know that it was specifically built for the nurses, but we do know that they had exclusive use of the cottage from 1906 until 1913, when they stopped coming and headed off to the First World War. The director was a woman named Anna Maxwell, who is one of the most famous nurses in American history. She was known during her lifetime as the American Florence Nightingale. And she was a founder of the Army Nurse Corps. She was the nurse that was responsible for getting nurses officer status in the Army, as well as a uniform, so that they would be respected and treated with as officers. And she was one of the first women buried in Arlington National Cemetery. This is where she would come during the summer with her staff and with her students. We have wonderful photographs that were taken in 1907 of the nurses sitting in front of the fireplace. I can only imagine what it must have been like for them. Look at this incredible view. And when you look at the nurses standing here, you can literally look at the rocks and see that they're the same, stones behind them, and it's just exciting. It's exciting that we have so much here to work with. This was a great porch that the nurses used to sit out on and enjoy the view. We have photographs from 1907, and it's just beautiful. And if you look around, you can see that all of the original detail is still here. It was not a winterized building, so it's not insulated, but it's got the great windows with the diamond panes. You feel that? You feel the breeze just sort of flowing through them? All we've done are open 2 windows. In fact, there was a big plaque up here, and you can see that the old iron hook is still in the masonry, where there was a large sort of brass platter or something of that nature. And you kind of wonder what this little room was used for. Right off the main room, it's just a shame to see it in this state. But I guess that's what we that's our job to bring this back. I mean, this is the part, this sort of center core of the building that I think is so well preserved, and it's what we really need to make sure we keep intact, because it's got the beautiful post and beam structure, and it's just a very, very elegant design. Close these. I mean, when you look at this, you realize why we have no time to waste, in terms of getting this building back together, because it's just deteriorating all around us. My God. This is what we have to worry about.
I just want to see this like a mini museum of the way life was here. These beautiful stairs, the beautiful old wood. It's like a summer cottage. And people can come in and look around and say, wow, and help us further. Because there's a whole nother building to worry about, and that's the Chimes building.
The Chimes building is currently used by the sailing program, the community sailing program. The Old Greenwich Yacht Club has lockers over on the other side. And then the dockmaster has an office in the bottom of the Chimes. And then the chimes up top still ring from time to time. And they're really terrific. It's really, I think this is just about everybody's favorite. And the cottage is going to be everybody's second favorite, I think. This is just such a unique, such a quirky building.
And if those chimes go off, I am in heaven. I completely adore that building. And it's a fantastic, amazing piece of machinery. It was made in 1865, and it's cast iron. People have to wind it every day. And the wires go all the way up to the bell. Those are real bells.
I maintain this Chimes building, and we've been doing this for several years, winding it every week, oiling it, taking care of it. It's a wonderful piece of work that turns out to be one of 2 in the nation, and of course the only one in Fairfield County. It's known as a chimola.
But the interior of the building, except for the part where the chimes have been hung and anchored in that tower, the rest of the building is falling apart on the inside just like this because of roof damage and then water seepage for years and years.
Well, and it leaks up in these corners in the back here, but it's like a river running through.
What do you think that smell is?
I honestly think it's a mixture of rat pee and dung and just raccoons in the walls.
Right.
They found dead raccoons all through downstairs.
That's
They,
unbelievable.
like our basement, that's even worse. Like, wait till you see that.
Oh my gosh.
And so, alright, well, and our lovely bathroom area up
I mean,
here.
that is just Wow.
Again, like,
Yeah, this is just plaster, that's fallen off the ceiling. And this is Greenwich, Connecticut. We have resources here in Greenwich. We can do what they've done in Central Park. Greenwich Point is as beautiful a park, as beautiful a resource as Central Park, and we should really look to what they've done there as an example for what we can do here.
Greenwich Point is a wonderful place to come and connect with nature, but it's so much more than that. It's a connection with our history. This place is where our town was first settled. These buildings are a link to the time of the great estates of Greenwich. They signify so much that we must pass down to our children and our grandchildren and their children. We can't just let them fall down.
Here in Greenwich, we are losing a great deal of our history. It's going a bit at a time. It's going in every neighborhood in town. So to know that here at Greenwich Point, there is a group that is determined to make sure that these buildings are here not only for our children, but our grandchildren, and that they are used in a way that is beneficial to us all is a really wonderful development.
I'm Jim Lash, First Selectman of Greenwich. The Innis Arden Cottage at Greenwich Point is one of the town's neglected treasures. A few years ago, the Greenwich Point Conservancy came to us and said they would work with the town to raise the funds necessary to preserve this building if we would make a priority of the project. Since then, they've raised the money to repair the roof. The project is about to start, and we have formed a committee with members of the Conservancy and other representatives from town groups to plan the use for the interior of the building. We expect in the next year or so the entire project will be underway, and shortly thereafter it will be available for people who are residents today as well as their children and our citizens of the future. These public-private partnerships are critical to the projects that we do in town, and we're very grateful to the Greenwich Point Conservancy for raising this project to the top of our priority list.
We've been working on this for 2 years, and it's incredibly exciting to see it get started. Although this is just the first step. I mean, we're really just beginning, and it's all been preparation up until now. I can't tell you how exciting this is. It's a dream come true.